Hello everyone, welcome to Startup Academy. So, in today's lecture, we shall be talking about the second phase of nationalism. There has already been a video regarding the Muslim League, and before that, also, we had made a video regarding the first phase of nationalism. So, I thought of making a video that is on the second phase of nationalism. So, you can put on the heading for today. As it says, you can write it as unit second phase of nationalism. So, while talking about the second phase of nationalism, we have its year that says starting with 1905 to 1990, the second phase was there, and these two units are sorry, these 2 years have been very important in the history of India. Therefore, we talk about them not only in the second phase but before that as well and after that as well. Therefore, starting with the year 1905, in the year 1905, when we make a road map or say a mind map, since we are learning things, therefore we will not be making a road map, we would be making a mind map. So in 1905, the British government decided to we can say to part or decided the partition of Bengal. We can say decided the partition of Bengal. When we talk about the partition of Bengal, in the previous lecture also, I've told you that the Bengal was partitioned on basis of the reason that was given to us, the cause for the partition that was given was nothing but the administrative necessity. This was the reason or the logic given to us from the side of the British. But the actual cause, when we talk about the actual causes were not these, but they were okay. Let me just change a pen. First of all, the Bengal is basically was basically used to be a big state, like it used to include some part of Odisha, Assam, Pakistan, your Bangladesh, whole of it, whole of Bangladesh, and some part of course, the West Bengal that we have right now was Bengal also. So, this was the whole part of the Bengal that was already included during that time of Bengal. Therefore, it was quite big state, and the major phases of nationalism used to take from this area only. That means the Bengal tigers used to get up, like the Mughal community and other nationalist leaders used to get up from the Bengal only in order to raise a fight against the Britishers. So, therefore, the major reason that we have got to know was nationalism. It was the center nerve of nationalism. Central nerve it was for the rise of nationalism, as it was the big state. Therefore, a team came, a British team or British government, they announced, they announced in say July 1905 that we would be dividing Bengal, and the implementation was done on implementation date, you need to remember, implementation was done on October 16, 1905. So these two dates are to be remembered by you, where the partition of Bengal actually took place. Therefore, the Bengal was partitioned on basis of, you can say, the right side would be like a Hindu community would be there, and the left hand side would be the Muslim community would be there. Therefore, these two communities were divided, and the thing that was given was administrative necessity, but the actual reason was the rise of nationalism used to be the central nerve. And also, you can another cause that you can mention over here is that Britishers wanted to rule India via divide and rule policy. Since the major unity was seen in Bengal, therefore they decided to therefore they decided to part the Bengal in the Hindu community and the Muslim community. And due to this partition, what happened was the Bengali speaking people became minor in their own state. So this whole thing happened in 1905. Therefore, what happened? This was the time of the partition. So on that day, on October 16, it is basically referred to as the Mourn Day in India. So you can write it as the Mourn Day in India. इसको लिखेंगे आप Mourn Day. Mourn Day in India. And before 14 February, it was used. We used to call it as the Black Day, the Mourn Day, and the Worst Day of India. So when we talk about the 1905, the separation or the partition, now we are coming on to what the government, Indian Congress was there, the national leaders were there. Partition ho raha tha, that was fine because that was the reason given to us, that was the administrative policy. But what did actually people take place, like the steps that were taken by the Indian government or the Congress that was formed at that time? What were their steps? So in order to know about their steps, we can say that people at that time, uh, they started anti-partition movement. In this anti-partition movement, people, first of all, they were like, we do not want this separation. Therefore they started protesting. Protesting means they came on the roads. They joined hand in hand, the Muslim community, the Sikh community, and all of the communities that were at that time, also the Muslim community. So they joined hand in hands and they used to walk on the roads by singing Bande Mataram, Bande Mataram. And it was the basic song that was written, Bande Mataram, written by Chatterjee. This you all should know who wrote what. And they also said the slogan was this. And the song that they read was Amar Sonar Bangla. Amar Sonar Bangla is basically a song from Anand Mat book. It is from Anand Mat book. You can refer to as Anand Mat book. All right, that means our golden. It basically, in simple term, means our golden Bengal. Then what did people do? People, they took Ganga bath, Ganga bath, Ganga bath. How did they take Ganga bath? They walked barefoot to the Ganga side. They took Ganga bath over there. Hindu Muslim unity was well defined. The unity which the Britishers tried to break by partitioning the Bengal was seen when Hindu and Muslims tied Rakhi to each other. ठीक है? Then There were many protests that came on in form of newspapers as well. Newspapers were there, magazines were there, and so many other things like letters, posts, telegrams, and all of those things were also there. Another thing that took place at that point of time was a celebration of Ganpati and Shivaji festival. So these two basic events, so these were the things that people actually started to working upon. This drew mass, so this led to draw of mass, and where the Britishers actually tried to divide it, that means divide or let not people come together. What they actually saw was the mass movement, the involvement of the masses was there in this movement. Therefore, the anti-partition was to such an extent that the British government became brutal at this point of time. And what did they decide? They started started lathi charge on public without any reason, and people could not get there. That is Article 144. Article 144 was also implemented during that point of time, and our great leaders were arrested without any, we can say, reason. Okay. So these things were done by the British community in order to stop all of the masses to come into this thing. Now, since all of these things were happening, the partition हो गया है, ठीक है, people have come into large masses in order to fight against this thing. So what did the Congress doing? Congress ने इसी time पर started with a meeting. Congress started with a meeting. Say over here. हाँ, तो कांग्रेस स्टार्टेड विद अ मीटिंग लाइक इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस की अगर हम बात कर लेते हैं, इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस which basically comprise which basically comprises of, we can say, assertives, and here were moderates. Up till 1906 they were together, but in 1907, at the Surat session 1907, or you can say it as a Surat session, the government, the National Congress, got split. That means known as Surat split. Why did they split? Because of the different mindsets of the leaders, that is assertives and the moderates. The splitting was there. Okay, अगर हम moderates की बात करते हैं तो what did actually moderates believed in? Moderates believe that moderates believed in prayers, petitions, and working according to the constitution. But when we talk about the assertives were very aggressive by nature. They had very aggressive nature. Since they were very aggressive nature, they were very aggressive in nature. Therefore, what was in their minds? They believed in actions. They believed in actions, that too vigorous action. They believed in vigorous actions. Violence ही नहीं होगी, but the vigorous actions would be taken care of. So assertives believed in taking up the actions, that means the vigorous actions. So therefore assertives का जो main role था, assertives what they wanted, the leader from the side of the assertives was to be Lala Rajpat Rai. But here the choice of leader was Raj Bihari Ghosh. Since one team or one community cannot have two leaders, therefore we could see a split between the assertives and the moderates in the Indian National Congress, due to which there was a satisfactory moment for the British community as they saw that the government, the thing or the community, that the society that was actually controlling the mass movement has been split. This was the major reason for the leaders. And another reason that you can also mention while writing your answer is that they wanted that the anti-partition law, or we can say the anti-partition law, which included the Swadeshi movement, Swadeshi, comma the boycott movement. Swadeshi and boycott movement to be launched in India. And what they wanted that Swadeshi and boycott movement to be limited only in Bengal. So these were the two main reasons why we need to study about the Surat split, because the leaders were different, they had different mindsets, and the movement also wanted the different things to happen at the different point of time. Therefore 1907 has been marked important by the factor known as the Surat split. So when we talk about the Swadeshi movement and the boycott movement, let's talk about these movement also. During the during the anti-partition movement, we saw first the Swadeshi movement, then we saw the boycott, then we saw the passive resistance, and the fourth thing that we saw was the national education. National education. When we talk about the Swadeshi, means the things that will be produced in our own country, we would be using only that. Talking about the boycott refers to we will not be moving on to the articles that are imprinted or that are imported in India. The third thing, that is the passive resistance, that we will be non-violent, but we will draw masses. Non-violent our movement would be, masses would be drawn, and instant actions instant actions would be taken care of. So like protest, okay, so all those things would be taken care of during the passive resistance. When we talk about the national education, people are to be treated people are to be treated with education, or are to be educated. Therefore there was an establishment of two popular universities, one in Kolkata and another in Chennai. So one in Kolkata and another in Chennai. Pichai University, that you must be knowing, that was in Chennai, and Bengal National University, that is in Kolkata. So these two things were given. Now the anti-partition law was basically favored by or led by three major leaders, that is Lal, Bal, and Pal. Whenever we talk about this trio, we get to know that the father of nationalism, known as Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Okay, so this also you need to mark it as important. So these were the all factors that actually took place. This was how the partition came in, and since all these things were going on, therefore there was an annulment of the partition. Partition was annulled means cancelled in 1911. Which partition? The Bengal partition of Bengal, that was called off by the British community itself because of this these movements that were going on, as the British community was facing lot of difficulty in ruling because public was not cooperating at that point of time. So coming on to this thing, okay, one more thing over here. When the partition was announced, the leader at that time was Lord Curzon. This is also important. He was the viceroy at that time, viceroy of India. All right. So everything that we have discussed about this thing, that is the assertive and the moderates, one thing is important, that no one believed in violence. Everyone was against the violence activity. And assertives also, they believed in actions rather than postponing things like in petitions and prayers. So that also has to be kept in mind. Okay, coming on to the second, nationalism, the introductory phase that we have just explained. So coming on, coming on to the next thing, the viceroy, they have explained who was the viceroy. He was Lord Curzon. The date of announcement was 16 October. Official reason was administrative, but actual reason I have told you the causes. We have told the real motive was divide and rule policy, and the launch of Swadeshi and boycott movement was there during the anti-partition law. Then, when we come on to the Swadeshi and boycott movement, they started from 1907 to 1908. So, between that, also, we got to see the split. boycotting British boycotting British government, British goods, promotion of indigenous industries, that means the industries that are already there in India. So there was one telewashing industry, telefiber washing, I guess, that was developed by V.O. Pichai, and he developed that industry, I guess, in Chennai or Kolkata. No, no, it was in Chennai, so developed by Pichai. So that was the first indigenous industry in India. National education movement was started, then the passive resistance and participation of students, women, and workers. As we have talked about, that the mass anti-partition is the mass movement. The main motto of Lal Bal Pal was to draw masses. Draw masses means they actually included people from all sectors, like from the law sector, from the farming sector, agriculture sector, the general sector, and all of the sectors were covered by these three trios, so that more of the people can relate and more of the masses could be taken in order to scare the Britishers. Then we have the revolutionary nationalism, the Surat split we have talked about in great detail. So revolutionary nationalism, when we talk about, it says that formation of Anusilan Samiti, Abhinav Bharat, political assassinations and bomb attacks were there. Aurobindo Ghosh was there, Khudram Bose was there, and Raj Bihari Bose was also there. Then the formation of the Muslim and the Morley Minto reforms. Morley Minto reforms are nothing but the separate electorates for the Hindu community and for the Muslim community. These were given to us by the Morley and the Minto. Minto was the viceroy at that point of time, and Morley was sitting in the Britain or UK, you can say. So they both decided to gather to gather the support of the Muslim community so that we can evolve in India and we can stay here for a longer period of time. So Morley was the viceroy, you need to know. Sorry, Minto was the viceroy at that point of time during the formation of the Muslim League, and Morley was sitting in Britain. Then we have the formation of the Muslim League. We have already talked about this particular thing already in detail, and then was the Morley Minto reforms, that is, the separate electorates were introduced. Muslim wanted nothing, but they did not want Swaraj, they did not want anything. They just wanted what? They just wanted their own rights. So there is basically a very important thing when I told you about the father of nationalism, that is Bal Gangadhar Tilak. He said that we will not be begging in the passive resistance. We will not be begging for the rights we own. So you need to give us the rights that we should have, and we will not be begging for anything. So is begging for our rights. We won't be. This was also involved in the passive resistance. ठीक है? So this is important statement. If you will mention it, you will get more marks. Then there was a home rule and the Lucknow Pact. We have already talked about the home rule, that is Swaraj, we want, and the Lucknow Pact. Lucknow Pact we had already discussed, in which the Muslim community came with the the Congress community, and at that point of time only, during the Lucknow Pact, that is 1916 only. In 1916 only, we saw that the assertives and the moderates that actually got split during the session, Surat session, they came in the Lucknow session back together along with the Muslim team, where they all demanded for Swaraj. The transition to Gandhian era, during the Gandhian era, we will see so many things, and we have already discussed about all these things in detail. Then the exam oriented thing that we have over here is, first of all, the ideology. Ideology is nothing, we just want freedom. First of all, the Swaraj was like presented before the government that we want Swaraj. Later on, the Swaraj was changed to the Poon Swaraj movement, so that was also demanded from the British community. The methods that we have followed were nothing but the boycott, Swadeshi, and passive resistance by including the national education system policy. The leadership were Lal Bal Pal, and the nature was inclusion of the mass movement, that is mass participation was included, because we know that the one thing that could deprive government, the British government, from its motto was nothing but the mass movement. The outcome was the Gandhian era and the Gandhiji. All movements then came on forward, and then we started. So this is how you can practice the second phase of nationalism. Second phase of nationalism was starting from 1905 and up till 1919, in which we can say the Jallianwala Bagh massacre actually took place in 1919. So that also we shall talk in detail before actually moving on forward to the partition of India and the gaining of independence. So this was all for today. Thank you and keep watching.